Good day everyone and welcome to another vlog for the Exodus 7 to 12K JV project. In this vlog I get to share the finished shot from last week and a few other things, so let's get into it. So the shot from last week, will you remember, was this one where Pharaoh, kind of shrugs off Moses and goes back inside. Now, as you guys remember, it was a fairly long shot, especially from about this point. There was a lot of excess time, but I told you guys why I did that. It was so that I could cut that out, but so that the whole thing could be one single project and just rendered and finished. It gives more control. So that shot was shortened, and the heart was, of course, added over it because his heart hardens, just like you can see on screen. I just love that. Especially this transition, just look at that. It's absolutely awesome. And it's just a fade. It just looks fancier because there's a high contrast in the background. Completely unintentional, I have to say. So getting on to the next thing. So shockingly, God gave me actually another 3D method. This one works in 3D by actually physically displacing the image with the depth map and all that kind of stuff. And then from that, you adjust for depth. It's not, how do I put this? The most practical way, but if you don't know programming, this is definitely the easiest way to do it. This works like I expected the displace node in the compositor to work, but unfortunately that thing just kind of sticks. It doesn't, it tears at the image. It doesn't create the proper result. So anyway, let me show you what this looks like. I just want to get a proper example. No, I'm going to go back further than that. A little bit further than that. Okay, there we go. I just want to switch to render only. Okay, so basically what you can see here is you can see that the geometry isn't very high resolution. It is high resolution for geometry, but it's not as high res as you would like it to be. I wanted it to be at least a pixel to vertex ratio. Unfortunately, that did not happen. As you can see, it does have a bit of a jagged result. The more you displace it, of course, the worse it gets. The biggest issue when it comes to conversion is the information that's not there. So if you were to look at him physically, you would actually see the information in the one eye that is missing over here. The best thing that you can do when it comes to conversion is to find some way of interpolating what is there with what is not there. And that creates a kind of like a fuzzy result, which I'm going to show you guys in a minute. But this method so far has actually given the most clarity. It gives an extremely sharp result despite the geometric limits that you can see over here. So at the moment, I'm blurring it vertically based on the normal direction from this way. And that gives me the ability to focus only on this area. Using a difference mask just kind of doesn't do it. But I am asking the Lord to give me a better method of filling in this area because I have tried the InPaint node. I'm not happy with the results of that. What I might try is to reconstruct it similar to the last method. But personally, at the moment, the blurring works the best. There has to be a better way though, because the blurring of this excessive information, that kind of pulls over, creates a kind of a pull in your vision towards the left, a very slight pull to the left or focus to the left. Yeah. Try saying that fast. Oh, it's terrible. So It's not perfect, but it definitely gives a very, very sharp result. Except when it comes to areas like this sharp corner over here. Hold on, let me just get there. There. Areas like this. Big issue. They don't blur as comfortably as I would like them to. It's a bit unfortunate, but yeah. So just for the sake of the interest, this is what it looks like in the 3D viewport. As you can see, it is definitely very interesting to look at. Especially the heart. Let me show you what the heart looks like. There you go. You can see the heart. So these blue spikes are obviously the glow around the heart. Isn't this just awesome? Just love it. So you can see that there's a difference between the trees in the background. Not a major one, but there is a difference because they have to kind of come off the surface. And of course you have the heart itself. Now this is purely depth map, and then it's shifted over so that whatever is closest to the camera shifts the most, using modifiers and all sorts of other stuff. So I want to show you guys, look over here. This is what we're dealing with in terms of trying to fix things. And you can see these, you can almost call them like louvers or panels or whatever. That stretching is the problem. I think I have less than 1/10 of full HD resolution going here in terms of the geometry. So it's extremely limited. At least with my computer, it's extremely limited. But I do like the result. The result's very cool. So I'm just going to take it back a few frames so you guys can see what the art looks like when it's transparent. Okay. So here you can see that little pillar thing coming through. And this is why a lot of people are not crazy about the depth map idea when it comes to storing 3D information. When it comes to transparent objects, you run into issues like this a lot. Thankfully, visually, you rarely notice the issue unless you're like super analytical of everything. So yeah, this is what that looks like. So the goal is just to fill this area in. I want to see if there's a way to fill it in using special textures or something that's only focused on this specific area, but one piece of craziness at a time. The problem comes in when you have rounded areas like the stony heart over here. You know, where the rocks are also put up and all that kind of stuff. So I think the answer here has to come through compositing. That's just my personal feeling at this point, is it has to come through compositing. So anyhow, I'm going to show you what this looks like in the compositor when it's actually rendered out. So let's pick a frame. Let's pick one where the crown is fairly obvious. So let's take something like that. At the moment, I'm also blurring it horizontally. So don't be shocked if you see that as well. This was also very fast. I mean, check this out. That's how quick it renders. It's about 2 seconds for the storing and the fixing and the whatever. So here you can see what I do. I physically just blur it. And it creates a very nice result for the missing information. Unfortunately, like I said, it does create that pool. And because you have a reduced 3D resolution in terms of the mesh, you can also see that you do get an aliased kind of step effect, which is a bit annoying. I am looking into learning how to program this so that it can actually be like a plugin for GIMP or Blender. But I read somewhere that you can't actually add nodes to Blender. You can't like physically write an add-on for nodes in Blender, which is really strange. I'm kind of puzzled about that. I thought that it's expandable, you know, to the uttermost, but apparently in order to add nodes, you're going to have to program them in C or C+ or something, and you have to recompile Blender. And yeah, I'm not crazy about that idea. So at the moment, it's just not going to happen. So as you can see with the gap that it leaves open, I tried to just fill in something there just so that the eye isn't like really irritated by the gap. And of course you can see that that's there. So let me show you the compositing. It's very simple. You can see the 3D result. So that's just the converter showing the sequence, and here we have the one that actually builds the sequence. You can see that this one, just as a viewer note, this one has the actual composite. So here you can see all it does is it blurs it vertically, horizontally by a value of 2. And of course it focuses on the light that comes from this side, giving you hold on, let me show you the dot, giving you this information. It's a good mask. It's a really, really good mask. Except for, you know, you can see some of the disruption in there. And of course that leads to our blurring effect. Let me see what happens if I turn off the X. It actually looks better. I'm gonna have to leave it off. And then of course that goes into the final, which would then look like this. So let's compare actually, because when I put the glasses on, the blurring horizontally also helped get rid of some artifacts. It didn't just create them. So let's see. Still pulls a little bit, but it's not actually uncomfortable. Let me see what happens if I turn that back on. No, that's actually more annoying. Yeah, it's better this way. I do see a bit of a disruption with this area over here that has very little information repair. I have tried using the InPaint node, which I'm actually going to show you guys right now. I'm actually going to leave the glasses on because doing it with the headset is ridiculous. So let's add the InPaint node. Let's choose a filter, InPaint. Let's get our mask. There's a one that specifically says define alpha or set alpha. There it is, which you can use this one for. And that goes into the alpha part, sorry. And we have our distorted image. Let's just see what that looks like. No, viewer. Yeah, it's the right thing that's been alphaed. So let's add the InPaint. See what happens with the crown. It kind of extends as well. So you're going to have to get something like the dilate and erode in there to kind of fix it. And I see the more you do it, the worse it gets. Yikes. Let's just leave it at 0 and see what it actually spits out. So that goes in there. So let's see what that looks like. Oh, goodness, no. Ew. No, no. We are certainly not going with that. See, that's much cleaner. It's a much, much cleaner result. So the InPaint node is clearly not the answer. At least not like this. It might be an answer to fix this, but it's also going to warp weirdly. I can actually show you that as well. Let me just get the alpha over here. See, that's what it does over there. It's not quite the result you were looking for. Actually, let's dilate and erode that. See what it does. Yeah. So you can see that it creates this kind of stepped effect. So there's a lot that needs fixing. Let's see what that does actually after the InPaint. Yeah, it kind of creates a disruption in here with your eyes. So let's just pick a different frame. Let's go for this one. Okay. So this is what it looks like. And you still have that fringing over here. It's not great, but You'll be amazed how many programs out there that does conversion struggle with this issue. What they usually do is they use something like InPaint that only works on the horizontal axis to fill it in. It's okay, but not with Exodus because you have all these outlines, so it still creates a black fill space, which is extremely annoying to look at. It kind of looks like there's a weird mirror next to everything. This new method is very sharp, as you can tell. You can see through these little poles and everything. It's got a really, really nice result. But we still need a proper solution to fix these edge issues. Generally, the best option is to dilate and erode it, or to just blur it. You see, that's why I blurred it previously. It definitely lessens the effect, but this one is definitely sharper. I think the issue is mainly with high contrast areas like this. Just one of those things. Conversion is not an easy topic. It is not easy at all. So here, sorry, still on the same topic. So here is what it actually looks like in 3D when it plays back, the final result. So I might re-render it because I can see that it does create a kind of extra noise effect if you blur it horizontally as well. So I just want to fix it. But here you go. This is the full-length shot, by the way. This was before cutting and adding it to the final edit. And there we go. Home sweet home. So yeah, I'll probably just re-render this thing today. Now we can move on. And we are at the final shot for chapter 7. Now what you guys are looking at right now is the hieroglyphic shot for chapter 7's end. Let me just open that. Now basically all it says, we're at the last two verses, 24 and 25. It says, "And all the Egyptians digged round about the river for water to drink, for they could not drink of the water of the river, and 7 days were fulfilled after that the Lord had smitten the river." Now, if you guys have watched this thing from the beginning, you would know that I've had this shot basically ready from very early on in the project, because I wanted to finish all these focus shots and all the extra informational shots and all that kind of stuff first. I really did. And unfortunately, it just didn't work out that way for many reasons, but some of them you'll find in the post. Anyway, so I'm going to show you what the animation for the shot looks like so far, and then I'm going to tell you what needs to be added. So this is what the animation looks like. Of course, we have 7 days here. 14 lines, one yellow, one blue. Obviously, you can see the blue represents the night with all the stars. And then the river gets transformed back. Now, the reason I had it go upstream was to show that it's not just going towards the sea. It's actually God restoring the river. It's not just it flowing empty. It is actually being restored. The only issue I have with this shot at the moment is that I've created the hieroglyphic relief manually instead of using the technique I showed you guys last week. So obviously this one will have to be modified, but that's not a big deal. The biggest issue is what's missing, and that is the dead fish. There has to be fish, with the cross eyes and whatever in the river. And of course, there has to be people digging for water over here. Now, like I said in previous weeks, I don't think they found any water there, because Psalm 78 specifically says they could not drink. If you couldn't drink, that means you didn't find water next to the river. It's just as obvious as that. So for the opening of the shot, before the 14, the 7 days come past, I have to have the digging first. So this is obviously going to be delayed significantly. So there's going to have to be Egyptians digging there, not Israelites, because, like I said previous weeks, it was all the Egyptians that digged round about the river for water to drink. Not the Israelites, the Egyptians. I think the Israelites knew if it was turned to blood, you're wasting your time. So, yeah, that's it. So that's it for this week. I do have something very interesting that I talk about in the post that I definitely encourage you guys to check out, but I'm not going to tell you, so you have to go check it out. Have a great one, and God bless you.